Some thoughts feel like they are yours. You recognize the rhythm, the wording, the little self-insults you have been carrying around since you were 12. And then sometimes a thought arrives that feels imported, too sharp, too calm, too cruel. It doesn't sound like your character. It sounds like somebody leaning in, using their voice from the inside. Tonight, I want to talk about that voice, how to put it on the page, how to make it dangerous, and how to do it without turning your horror into a cartoon devil on the shoulder. Hi, welcome back. I am Manuel, indie horror author for Julia 705 and The Walk, and this is MindTwist, where we talk psychological horror, unreliable minds, and how to break your characters from the inside out. In the last episode, we looked at unreliable narrators, the kind of protagonists who tell the story honestly, from a very biased angle. This time, we are zooming in even closer into the inner voices of the page. Those lines of thought that don't quite sound like your character, and how you can use them to create dread, paranoia, and doubt. I'll walk you through a few ways I use inner voices in my own work, and then I'll read a short scene where the extra voice quietly slips in and changes the meaning of everything around it. When I say inner voice, I don't just mean normal internal monologue. Every character has that. I am tired, this is weird, I should go home. The kind of inner voice I am interested in, especially for horror, is this. A thought on the page that doesn't quite match the way your character usually thinks, but it shows up in their head anyway. From a writer's point of view, I use 3 buckets. The first one I call the echo. Something someone else said to them once that now lives in their head rent-free. A parent, a bully, a doctor, a priest. It comes back as a line that sounds like them, not like your character. The second bucket that I use is called the intrusion. A thought that feels not me, even to the character. It is a little too calm in crisis, or a little too vicious in a quiet moment. They don't know where it came from, but they can't unhear it. The third bucket, I call it the mask. The voice your character uses to bully themselves into behaving. It is technically them, but it is the version that learned to survive. Polite, hard, professional, clinical. In psychological horror, the mask voice can be just as frightening as any demon in the walls. Once I know which category I am playing with, I stop treating inner voices as decoration and start treating it as a weapon. Let me give you 3 practical tricks you can steal from your own scenes. The bracketed whisper. Short, sharp, set apart from the main sentence, with brackets, italics, or a dash. She told herself she was fine. Liar between brackets. The key is contrast. Your character's normal thoughts are full sentences, a bit messy, emotionally noisy. The inner voice is cleaner. It cuts through. Use it sparingly, and it'll feel like someone tapping the reader on the shoulder. The second one will be the correction. Here, the inner voice shows up a little edit to what they just thought. He didn't mean it. He meant every word. You write the reasonable thought first, then immediately undercut it with something colder, more honest, or more cruel. You don't have to label who's talking. The rhythm does the work. The reader feels that second line as a different presence, even if it technically comes from the same brain or the same character. The third one is the hijacked paragraph. This one is fun. You start in normal internal monologue and let the inner voice slowly take over mid-paragraph. I should go back inside, she thought. Apologies, explain, do the mature thing. That's what a decent person would do. You are not a decent person. She flinched, though nobody had spoken. From a craft angle, watch the tone shift. Your character's voice has ums and maybes and excuses. The intruding voice is decisive. It speaks in verdicts. If you are writing psychological horror, that gradual hijacking is where the dread lives. Let me read you a short piece that uses the hijack paragraph idea. The corridor looked normal in the daylight. Same beige walls, same notice boards curling at the edges, same smell of disinfectant and cheap coffee. She told herself she was overreacting. People worked here, laughed here. Nobody else heard anything in defense, because nobody else listens as hard as I do. The thought arrived fully formed in a voice that wasn't harsh, calm, patient, like someone leaning over the shoulder, pointing out a mistake on a form. Not me, she whispered. I didn't think that. You did. You just don't want the credit. Notice how we never say a demon spoke or the house whispered. All we see is a line of thought that doesn't match her usual tone and the way her body reacts to it. From a craft angle, pay attention to what's actually doing the heavy lifting in here. The tone shift. Normal thoughts are messy. The inner voice is precise. The formatting, setting it apart on the page, tells the reader this is different. The denial, as soon as the character insists that wasn't me, we know something in there is starting to split. The point isn't to shout, "Look, spooky voice." It is to let the reader feel that tiny fracture between who your character thinks they are and what's starting to live in their head. If you want to try this in your own work, take a scene you have already written and do a small experiment. Find a moment where your character is trying hard to be reasonable and add a single, short inner line underneath that is not reasonable at all. See how it changes the scene temperature. I love to hear how you use inner voices in your own stories, or which books nail that thought that doesn't feel like mine feeling for you. Drop a comment and tag me on socials with your favorite example, and I might read a couple out in future episodes. If you want to hear these ideas in action, Julia 705 and the work are all out now, ebook and paperback, including on Kindle Unlimited. You can find them, plus a free prologue on my next book, Madison, over at mindtwistbooks.com. Next time, we are going to move from the inside of the head back out into the world again, and talked about houses that remember you, how to write settings that feel like they are watching, judging, and keeping score. Until then, keep writing the kind of stories where even the quietest thoughts might not be your character's own. See you later.